Number one, the brutal opening. Listen carefully, this isn't motivation. This is exposure. You stay broke while others get rich because you were trained to be harmless in a world that rewards dominance. You were taught to play fair in a game designed by people who never intended to. You believe money comes from effort, honesty, and patience. They know it comes from leverage, positioning, and control. You wake up early, work hard, follow rules, and wait for permission. They wake up calculating who to use, what to withhold, and when to strike. This is the first truth you must swallow if you want power. Money does not respect virtue, it respects strategy. You don't lack intelligence. You lack ruthlessness. You don't lack discipline. You lack psychological clarity. While you're trying to be liked, they're trying to be needed. While you're chasing stability, they're building dependency. And dependency is where wealth hides. You were conditioned to fear risk, fear judgment, fear appearing selfish. They were trained to fear only irrelevance. That's why they win. You mistake comfort for safety, morals for shields, and hard work for value. They understand perception creates value, scarcity creates demand, and silence creates mystery. You talk too much. You explain yourself. You show your hand. Power never explains. Power observes. You trade time for money. They trade access for influence. You spend first and save what's left. They invest first and let others fund their lifestyle. This is not about luck. It's about seeing the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The masses follow rules, the rulers write them. Right now, you are following rules that keep you predictable, replaceable, and obedient. If that sentence made you uncomfortable, good. Discomfort is the signal that conditioning is breaking. From this moment on, stop listening like a victim. Listen like a man preparing to become untouchable. Number two, the poverty mindset you were programmed with. You weren't born thinking small, you were trained to. From the moment you could understand approval, you were rewarded for obedience, not results. Sit down, stay quiet, don't ask too much, don't want too much. Money was framed as dangerous, greedy, corrupting. Power was painted as evil. Wealthy men were called lucky or immoral, so you'd never study them seriously. This is how a controlled mind is built. Machiavelli knew this. If you want to rule people, teach them to self-police. So you learn to feel guilt for wanting more, shame for charging more, fear for standing out. You internalized a poverty code disguised as humility. Meanwhile, the men who get rich early learn a different language. They learn that money is not earned by effort alone, but by solving problems at scale. They learn that value is not what you produce, but what others believe you control. You were told to improve yourself endlessly. They were taught to position themselves strategically. You focus on skills. They focus on leverage. You ask, how can I work harder? They ask, how can I make others work for me? This is the psychological divide. You were taught to wait your turn. They were taught to take turns away from others. You worry about fairness. They worry about outcomes. You seek security in systems that were never built to secure you. Jobs, salaries, promises. They build assets that work even when they sleep. You fear instability because instability threatens your comfort. They embrace instability because it creates opportunity. Here's the cold truth. The system does not reward loyalty, it exploits it. The system does not reward patience, it drains it. And the longer you cling to moral superiority without power, the longer you remain harmless. Machiavelli warned that a man who relies on virtue alone will be destroyed among those who do not. This is not a call to become evil, it's a call to become aware. You can be ethical and still strategic, but if you are moral without power, you will be used by those who are powerful without morals. Right now, your biggest enemy is not the economy, inflation, or bad luck. It's the invisible programming that makes you feel safe staying small. Break that, and everything changes. Number 3, why hard work keeps you poor. You were sold a comforting lie. Work hard and you'll be rewarded. That lie keeps millions obedient. Hard work is respected only when it serves someone else's vision. Machiavelli understood this dynamic clearly. Those who control direction profit more than those who provide effort. You exhaust yourself perfecting tasks that can be replaced, outsourced, or automated. You confuse movement with progress, effort with power, sweat with value. The wealthy see hard work as fuel, not the engine. They work hardest on decisions, not execution. You are busy all day. They are selective all year. You say yes to everything because you fear losing opportunities. They say no to almost everything because they understand focus creates scarcity. Scarcity creates leverage. You measure your worth in hours. They measure theirs in outcomes. You grind to feel productive. They pause to think strategically. This is why the hardest worker in the room is rarely the richest. He is too visible, too available, too dependent. Power avoids visibility until it's unavoidable. You were trained to believe being indispensable makes you safe. In reality, it makes you trapped. The more useful you are at a low level, the less incentive there is to elevate you. Machiavelli warned that those who serve too well become tools, not partners. Wealth comes from ownership, not obedience. From control, not compliance. You trade certainty for exhaustion. They trade uncertainty for upside. You cling to routine because it feels responsible. They disrupt routines because disruption shifts control. The system rewards those who create frameworks, not those who merely function inside them. Hard work without direction is a leash. It keeps you moving in circles while convincing you that you're advancing. Look at your life honestly. Are you building something that pays you without your presence? Or are you building someone else's dream with your time? Until your effort compounds without you, you will remain dependent. Independency is the opposite of wealth. This is the moment you must stop asking how to work harder and start asking how to work once and get paid repeatedly. Until then, your effort will be applauded, but never rewarded. Number 4, power understands leverage, not effort. Money follows leverage the way shadows follow light. If you don't control leverage, you don't control outcomes. You were taught to admire effort because effort is easy to measure and easy to exploit. Leverage is invisible to the untrained eye. It's ownership, access, influence, and timing. Machiavellian power never asks, how much energy does this take? It asks, how many people does this move? You operate on a one-to-one model, 1 hour, 1 result. The wealthy operate on one-to-many, one decision, endless returns. That's the difference between labor and power. You wait for permission to act. They act, then negotiate. You seek credentials to feel legitimate. They create situations where credentials chase them. You try to prove value. They position themselves as the gate. Machiavelli wrote that the prince must control the pathways, not walk them. Leverage is created by controlling resources others need, attention others want, or systems others depend on. If people can ignore you, you have no leverage. If people can replace you, you have no leverage. And if people don't fear losing access to you, you have no leverage. This is why visibility without control is dangerous. You post, speak, explain, and give freely, believing exposure equals opportunity. In reality, exposure without scarcity lowers your value. Power reveals itself slowly. You make yourself available because you were taught availability equals professionalism. They limit access because they understand restriction creates demand. You think playing fair will protect you? They know rules bend for those who control outcomes. This isn't about becoming dishonest. It's about becoming strategic. Stop offering value without extracting position. Stop solving problems without owning the solution. Stop being impressed by effort, yours or anyone else's. Effort is expected. Leverage is respected. The moment you shift from being a worker inside systems to a controller of systems, money stops chasing you and starts orbiting you. That is the moment the balance of power changes. Number 5, why morals alone will never make you rich. You were raised to believe that being good would protect you, that morality would be rewarded, that fairness would balance the scales. This belief is comforting and expensive. Machiavelli was clear. A man who relies only on virtue will be destroyed among those who do not. The world of money is not a courtroom. It is a battlefield of incentives. Morals without power do not make you noble. They make you predictable. You hesitate when others move. You overthink when others take ground. You tell the truth when silence would have protected your position. And you call this integrity while slowly losing leverage. The wealthy are not richer because they are more immoral. They are richer because they separate emotion from strategy. They understand that morality is personal, but money is structural. You bring your heart into negotiations. They bring terms. You worry about how you'll be perceived. They worry about what they'll control. You want to be respected for your intentions. They want to be feared for their consequences. This is the cold difference. You think saying no makes you selfish. They know saying yes too often makes you weak. You confuse kindness with access. They understand access is power, and power must be rationed. Every time you give without conditions, you teach people how to use you. Every time you forgive without consequence, you weaken your position. This doesn't mean you must become cruel. It means you must become deliberate. Morality should guide your values, not sabotage your outcomes. The mistake you make is believing the world will meet you at your level of fairness. It won't. It will meet you at your level of leverage. Until you learn to protect your time, your energy, your ideas, and your boundaries with the same seriousness you protect your image of being good, you will remain poor in power, even if you are rich in effort. Money flows toward those who can say no without guilt and yes without desperation. Master that, and you stop being exploited by your own conscience. Number 6, emotional control is financial control. If you cannot control your emotions, you cannot control money. It's that simple. Every financial mistake you've made was emotional before it was logical. Fear made you hesitate. Ego made you rush. Hope made you ignore reality. Anger made you prove instead of position. Machiavellian power starts with emotional silence. The rich don't feel less, they feel later. You react immediately because you were trained to express. They pause because they were trained to calculate. Markets, negotiations, and opportunities punish emotional transparency. The moment your feelings become visible, your leverage collapses. You negotiate like you need the deal. They negotiate like they can walk away. That single difference determines who wins. You chase money when you feel insecure. They attract money because they project certainty. You spend to soothe discomfort. They withhold to increase control. Emotional discipline is not repression, it's timing. Knowing when to speak, when to move, and when to do nothing. You panic when things slow down. They get excited because chaos exposes the emotionally weak and rewards the emotionally disciplined. You want reassurance before acting. They act and let results reassure them. You seek clarity. They create it. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must appear calm even when the ground is burning. The same applies to wealth. If people sense urgency in you, they will price you higher, delay you, or deny you. If they sense patience, they will accommodate you. Money obeys the calm. Opportunities reveal themselves to the composed. This is why Stoicism isn't philosophy. It's currency. The man who can sit in uncertainty without flinching gains control over those who can't. You overshare your struggles, your plans, your fears. They keep their inner world sealed. Silence protects power. Not because words are dangerous, but because information is. Every emotional reaction you display becomes data for someone else to use. Until you master emotional containment, your intelligence works against you. You will always be manipulated by urgency, temptation, and approval. Control your emotions and suddenly the world slows down around you. Decisions sharpen, negotiations tilt, and money starts moving toward you. Not because you chase it, but because you no longer repel it with desperation. Number 7, why you talk too much and they move in silence. Your mouth leaks power. Every time you explain yourself, you reduce your value. You were taught that transparency builds trust, that sharing plans invites support, that being open makes you relatable. In reality, it makes you predictable. Machiavellian minds understand this. Information is currency, and the one who reveals less controls more. You announce goals before building foundations. You seek validation before results. You talk to feel progress. They move to create outcomes. Silence is not emptiness, it's pressure. When you speak too early, you invite opinions, doubt, sabotage, and delay. When they stay silent, they preserve flexibility. You feel uncomfortable not being understood. They are comfortable being underestimated. That's why they win. You confuse communication with influence. Influence comes from outcomes, not explanations. The moment people know what you want, they can control the price, the pace, and the conditions. The moment they don't, they must react to you. Machiavelli warned that appearing predictable is dangerous. Predictability makes you manageable. You overshare your struggles to feel supported. They conceal weakness to avoid exploitation. This isn't about being fake. It's about being private. Power grows in the dark. Strategies mature in silence. You ask for advice from people who have never built what you want. They observe quietly and decide alone. You seek consensus. They seek advantage. You want to be seen as honest. They want to be seen as inevitable. Every word you speak should either increase leverage or protect position. Anything else is noise. Until you learn to shut up, execute, and let results speak, you will always be one step behind those who act while you talk. Silence is not passive. Silence is loaded. And when you finally speak, it should be from a position where disagreement no longer matters. Number 8, ownership is the line between rich and broke. Everything changes the moment you stop renting your life. Broke thinking trades time for permission. Rich thinking acquires ownership and lets time work for it. You rent your job, your status, your attention, your future. They own equity, distribution, data, audiences, and systems. Renting feels safe because someone else sets the rules. Ownership feels dangerous because responsibility shifts to you. That fear is the gate. Machiavellian logic is ruthless here. Whoever owns the asset controls the outcome. You celebrate promotions inside structures you don't own. They accumulate pieces of structures that don't need them present. You chase titles. They chase cap tables. You worry about monthly income. They worry about asymmetry, small downside, unlimited upside. Ownership isn't just shares. It's control over channels, pricing, standards, and access. If you don't own the channel, you are the product. If you don't own the distribution, you beg for attention. If you don't own the terms, you accept whatever is offered. You were taught to avoid risk and seek stability. Stability is a cage with padded walls. Ownership is volatile, but volatility favors the prepared. The wealthy don't avoid risk, they structure it. They cap losses, stack optionality, and let probability work over time. You wait to be chosen. They build assets that do the choosing. You think saving will save you. Saving only preserves value. It doesn't create power. Power comes from owning something people need tomorrow more than today. Machiavelli would tell you to secure the strongholds first, resources, routes, and reputation, then expand. Stop optimizing for comfort and start optimizing for control. Buy pieces of outcomes, not hours of effort. Build things that compound without applause. The line between rich and broke isn't intelligence or luck. It's ownership versus obedience. Cross that line once, and you never see money the same way again. Number 9, become untouchable by designing dependence. The final shift before wealth accelerates is this. Stop chasing independence and start engineering dependence. Independence sounds noble, but it's weak. Independent men are easy to ignore. Powerful men are depended on. Machiavelli understood that security comes not from freedom, but from being necessary. You aim to be self-sufficient so no one can control you. They aim to be indispensable so everyone must negotiate with them. You try to avoid reliance. They design it. Look closely at who gets rich consistently. They sit at intersections. They control gateways, standards, audiences, platforms, supply chains, or narratives. Remove them, and something breaks. Remove you, and someone else fills the seat. That's the difference. You build skills that make you useful. They build positions that make them unavoidable. You sell effort. They sell access. You compete on price. They set the price. You want freedom from people. They want power over outcomes. This is cold, but it's real. Money flows toward necessity. If your absence changes nothing, your presence has little value. The fastest way to wealth is not doing more. It's becoming the bottleneck. Own the relationship others need to reach customers. Own the data others need to decide. Own the distribution others need to sell. Own the trust others can't replicate, and then ration it. Scarcity sharpens demand. You were taught to scale generosity. They scale leverage. You give everything up front to prove worth. They give just enough to keep others invested. This is not cruelty, it's architecture. Design systems where people win when you win and lose access when they cross you. Consequences create respect. Predictability kills it. When you become the hinge on which outcomes turn, money stops being something you chase and becomes something you command. At that point, fear shifts sides. You no longer fear rejection, others fear exclusion. That is what it means to be untouchable, not because you dominate everyone, but because removing you costs too much. Number 10, the final law: power first, money follows. Everything you've heard until now leads to this final law. Money never comes first, power does. You've been chasing symptoms instead of causes, income instead of influence, cash instead of control. Machiavelli understood that wealth is a byproduct of positioning, not effort. When you control outcomes, money has no choice but to follow. When you don't, money becomes unpredictable, stressful, and temporary. This is why some men recover fortunes overnight while others never escape survival. One has power, the other has only hope. You must decide which man you are becoming. Stop asking how to get rich and start asking where power concentrates. Who sets the rules? Who controls access? Who decides what is scarce? Then move there quietly. You don't need applause. You need advantage. You don't need to be loved. You need to be respected, or at least unavoidable. Drop the fantasy that the world will reward you for being pure, patient, or polite. It rewards clarity, leverage, and resolve. Adopt masculine stoicism: calm under pressure, silent under provocation, decisive under uncertainty. Protect your energy, guard your plans. Move when others hesitate, pause when others panic. Let your results introduce you. This is not about becoming heartless. It's about becoming unexploitable. The world is full of good men who stay poor because they refuse to see reality clearly. Don't be one of them. See the game. Learn the rules others won't admit exist, and then play to win. If this message unsettled you, that means it worked. Transformation always begins with discomfort. Now, don't let this be another video you consume and forget. Act. Think differently. Position yourself. And if you're ready to keep sharpening this mindset, if you want to continue learning how power, psychology, and money actually work, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because once you start seeing the world through this lens, there's no going back.